What did your child say in court that saved someone's life? My daughter Cassie was 8 years old when she became the most important witness in a murder trial. She was this quiet little girl who loved drawing more than anything else. She carried her sketch pad everywhere and drew everything she saw, from our neighbor's cat to the microwave clock showing lunchtime. Mark was our babysitter, a college kid from next door who watched Cassie after school. He was perfect for the job, always patient with her endless questions, and brought her new colored pencils whenever she ran out. My wife and I trusted him completely. Cassie adored him. Everything changed on a Tuesday evening when Mrs. Chen from apartment 4B was found dead in the alley behind our building. The police said she'd been strangled around 7:15 that night. A neighbor claimed she saw Mark near the alley around that time. Then they found his gray sweater in a dumpster 2 blocks away. They arrested Mark the next morning. I couldn't believe it. This was the same kid who helped Cassie with her math homework and made her laugh when she scraped her knee, but the evidence seemed solid. His fingerprints were on the sweater, and he had no alibi for that evening. The prosecutor said it was an open and shut case. Mark was looking at life in prison. His court-appointed lawyer seemed overwhelmed and kept pushing for a plea deal. 3 weeks later, we got a court summons. They wanted Cassie to testify about what time Mark left our apartment that evening. The lawyer said it was routine, just confirming the timeline. Nobody expected much from an 8-year-old. The courtroom was packed. Cassie looked tiny in the witness chair, clutching her school folder against her chest. She answered the prosecutor's questions in her small voice, confirming that Mark had babysat her that day and left around dinner time. Then Mark's defense attorney stood up. He was young, probably fresh out of law school, but he spoke gently to Cassie. "Do you remember what you were doing when Mark left that day?" he asked. Cassie nodded eagerly. "I was drawing a picture of us in the kitchen. I draw everything I see. Could you show us that picture?" The prosecutor objected, saying it wasn't relevant, but the judge was curious. "I'll allow it," he said. Cassie opened her folder and pulled out a drawing labeled with that Tuesday's date. It showed stick figures of her and Mark in our kitchen. She'd drawn herself at the table with crayons scattered around, and Mark standing by the oven. The courtroom was silent as everyone studied the childish drawing. Then the judge leaned forward. "Cassie, what's that above the stove in your picture?" "The clock," she said proudly. "Ms. Foster at school says I should draw from real life, so I always look at everything really carefully." The judge squinted at the drawing. Cassie had carefully drawn the digital clock display showing 7:42 p.m. My heart stopped. The victim had been killed at 7:15. If Mark was still in our kitchen at 7:42, he couldn't have been in that alley. "Cassie," the judge said slowly, "did you make up this time, or did you really look at the clock?" "I looked at it because I was mad," she said matter-of-factly. "Mark said I had to go to bed soon and I didn't want to, so I looked at the clock to see how much time I had left." The prosecutor's face went white. He demanded to examine the drawing, looking for any sign it had been altered. But Cassie's innocent artwork was dated and signed in her careful third-grade handwriting. The defense attorney requested an immediate recess. Within an hour, they were running new forensic tests on evidence that had been overlooked. By the end of the week, they'd found DNA under the victim's fingernails that didn't match Mark. The real killer was arrested a month later, a drifter with a history of violence who'd been passing through town that week. Mark was completely cleared. At the hearing where charges were dropped, the judge thanked Cassie personally. "Your attention to detail saved an innocent man," he told her.